Hey, good morning from the office. I'm your host, BKP. Good Monday morning. Maybe this is officially April Fool's Day. That was yesterday, Easter Sunday. Good Monday morning from North Georgia here. I'm your host, BKP. Let's tell everybody, let's start the show. We've got a lineup today, and today's show is the way it's going to continue all the way to Election Day. Every single day we're going to be bringing more and more guests on here, because our goal always at FetcherNews.com and this show here, Good Morning from the Office, is to get you, the voters, the most information. So you can always reach us at chief@FetcherNews.com. Tell us what you think of the interviews, the candidates. Let us know as we talk to them. 706-889-9700. You can text the show. Let us know. And also, you can follow us on Twitter at Fetcher News, at FYNTV. Also, if you'll go to our YouTube channel, FetchYourNews.com, FYNTV YouTube channel, and subscribe. You can always get a notification when we are doing a live broadcast. So that being said, let me give you our lineup this morning. Let's get through all the work we have to do here. Let's go through our lineup. At 8:30 this morning, we're going to have Republican candidate for governor, Georgia Governor, Michael Williams. At 9 o'clock this morning, we're going to have Republican candidate for governor, Hunter Hill. And at 9:30, we are going to have the Georgia House of Representatives Speaker David Ralston will be on with us. Now, both the candidates for governor, candidate Hill and Williams, I went to a 9th Congressional District, and you guys out there did an outstanding job. The 9th Congressional District GOP, you did a great job Saturday. The venue, everything was perfect. The sound, everything was very good. All of the candidates had their mics, worked very well throughout the debate. The lighting, everything, well organized. So great job, Republican Party in the 9th District there on the debate Saturday night. All the candidates for governor, if they're a candidate, they were on the stage for governor. I went over there Saturday night and listened to the debate, come away with a lot of notes, and we're going to talk to these candidates. They have been campaigning now for some time, but really the Georgia legislative session ended last Thursday. Then you have Good Friday and Easter weekend. So today really takes off for all the campaigning. So we'll get into that. Every year after the Georgia legislative session is over, we have Speaker Ralston on, David Ralston, just to give a legislative update for 2018, what he feels they accomplished, maybe did not accomplish. And this morning we're especially going to talk to him about the fact that this is the last legislative session that he'll preside over, that Governor Nathan Deal is the governor of Georgia. So we'll talk to him about that and what they sent to the governor's desk and how happy he is or satisfied with the last session for Governor Nathan Deal in office. Final four. I knew Loyola was, had reached the limit, so Michigan moves on to the big game. Michigan moves on to the big game, and I have no teams. I had one team in the Final Four. That was Michigan. That's it. But I did not have Michigan getting past Cincinnati. I had Cincinnati, so I don't know about your brackets. So championship game is just championship game for me. I'm not in it. So, but Michigan moves on, and I do not think they can play Villanova. I was wrong. Mark that down in your book. You've heard that here this morning. I was wrong. I did not think Villanova could play Kansas. So, hey. So now I'm going to say I don't think Michigan can play Villanova, so I'm going to go with Villanova tonight. The Final Four national championship on the ladies' side of the NCAA, Notre Dame. We want to congratulate Notre Dame for winning the ladies' national championship NCAA last night. I think it was last night, if I remember right. So, all right, trying to move along and stay focused. President of the United States, he goes to church yesterday. Mexico must stop immigrant caravans. Trump demands nuclear option and no more DACA deal. So President just decided, you know what? I've went to church. I had my Easter Sunday dinner with the family, and I think I'm going to go on Twitter. So that has taken place. But here's what I want to talk about before we get to 8:30. Freedom of speech. Now, this story goes into last week, and it's not that I missed it. I just did not focus on it. We had last Thursday and then Friday being at Circuit World with the All-Star panel. Many of you have watched, and the reason I want to talk about this now is because what I call the danger, okay, the absolute danger of what is going on and how things are happening with freedom of speech and the left using these kids, the Obama kids, all right, to get their message out. So we're going to go through some tweets. This David Hogg somehow has become ultimately protected, okay? And we know that Laura Ingraham last week, okay, tweeted out, and let me find which one it is, Amanda, so we can get to it. Hold on just a second. Now, last week we know, let's go ahead and put up Laura Ingraham 1, okay? And Fox News host Laura Ingraham mocked Parkland student David Hogg for not getting into UCLA. Big mistake, okay? So then, all of a sudden, let me put out here, Laura Ingraham, here's the tweet. Let's go to Laura Ingraham 4. Sorry, I haven't marked that way. So Laura Ingraham tweeted out, okay, David Hogg rejected by 4 colleges. David Hogg, I don't know why I say that. David Hogg rejected by 4 colleges to which he applied and whines about it. Dinged by UCLA with a 4.1 GPA, totally predictable given acceptance rates. Okay, so she tweets this out, and David Hogg and David Hogg and his friends immediately go after her, all right, with a list of companies, all right? So let's go to the one that says Ingraham number 2. To boycott, Ingraham number 2. Thank you to the next 2 companies. Thank you to the next 2 companies who have dropped Ingraham Angle, Nestle, and Expedia. Okay. Thank you. Liberty Mutual, you are next. What are you waiting for? Boycotting Ingraham. So they launched a boycott, and let me see if I can find the other one I want. Okay. Now let's go to Ingraham number 3, if you can find that one. David retweeted, if you want to help, I would suggest contacting 3 or 4 of these companies. Let's do this. This is what David put out. Let's do this, okay? Encouraging as many people to contact a list And they have made that list. Let's go to Ingram number 3, which David Hogg retweeted. This is Ingram number 3. And it's a list. These are Laura Ingram's top sponsors. All right. Did I not send you that one? That's okay if I didn't. Ingram number 3. That's why I have it posted at with all the sponsors. Is that not on there? All right. Okay. All right. I must have titled it wrong. So here they put out a list. These are Laura Ingram's top sponsors. And Hogg retweeted it. Bayer, Liberty Mutual, Nutrisystem, Choice Hotels, Jenny Craig, Arby's, Cars.com, DirecTV, Duracell, Joseph A. Bank, Honda, IBM. The list goes on. Okay. The list goes on there. And those are the list. And let me see what else I have here. So there was an attack on Laura Ingram, all right? And there's one more I want to get up here, I think, before. All right, so Ingram apologizes. Laura Ingram apologizes. I myself would not have apologized to this guy because the danger of what's going on here for 2018 in the elections. So Laura Ingram apologizes, and let's go with Ingram 7. Okay. Ingram number 7, Laura Ingram went up and said, any student should be proud of a 4.2 GPA, including David Hogg. On reflection, in the spirit of Holy Week, I apologize for any upset or hurt my tweet caused him or any of the brave victims of Parkland. For the record, I believe my show was the first to feature David. And let's go to the next one. Number 2 there, 7. Immediately after the horrific shooting, and even noted how poised he was given the tragedy. As always, he's welcome to return to the show anytime for productive discussion. Now I'm going somewhere with this, okay? And now go to the one I have marked, Ingram number 5. And this is David's comments concerning Laura Ingram. All right, Ingram number 5. I 100% agree. An apology in an effort just to save your advertisers is not enough. All right, there's a discussion. It's not enough. All right. I will only accept your apology only if you denounce the way your network has treated my friends and I in this fight. It's time to love thy neighbor, not mudsling at children. All right. So this is the misunderstanding, and we cannot let the advertisers, we cannot let the Obama kids, we cannot let the George Soros gang, we cannot let this group, all right, dictate what we do. Because I'm telling you, we send our children to school to be educated, not trained. And this is what's happening. So let's go to Andrew Pollock. All right. Andrew Pollock, the son, Hunter Pollock, wanted to speak. His sister was killed, okay? He wanted to speak at the March for Our Lives, okay? David, he said he was not put on a list because his message did not agree with what they had, their message. All right, so Hunter Pollock, David Hogg tweeted out. Let's go to Hunter tweet, just Hunter tweet. It says Hunter tweet there. A miscommunication led to Hunter not being able to speak at the march. I would like you to hear it now. So he tweeted it out. A miscommunication. So he sends out an apology that's not true. Hunter Pollock, Andrew Pollock's son, said, "Thank you. I appreciate you putting out my video, but there was no miscommunication. My speech didn't fit in the agenda." Okay? Now, David Hogg says it was miscommunication. He said, no, it wasn't miscommunication. Let's go to Hunter tweet 2. All right? Here's Hunter Pollock. His sister died in Parkland in the massacre. "I want to unite the country on this issue, not divide it. How about we start with the Sun Sentinel writing a follow-up article stating I was never on the speaker's list." Okay? The first article was a lie. Retweet if you agree after seeing the facts I put out. Okay? So he was on the speaker's list. The Sun Sentinel said he was never on the speaker's list. All right? Let's go to Hunter tweet number 3. Hunter Pollock, all right, his dad, Andrew Pollock, which we all remember very well, that spoke to President Trump at that meeting in the White House. This is Hunter Pollock tweet 3. "When bombers killed people, we don't blame the bomb. When drunk drivers kill someone, we don't blame the car. But when madmen known to officials for years kill my sister, there's a call for banning guns. Why not focus on the killer?" All right? And, so Laura Ingraham, and here's where I'm going with this, okay? Laura Ingraham has been attacked for her comments. Her advertisers have been attacked, okay? And she apologized, but then they prevented speakers, and we know this for a fact from Hunter Pollock, all right? They prevented speakers at the March for Our Lives that did not fit their agenda. It did not fit the narrative they wanted you to hear, okay? Because it's all a master plan. Now, David Hogg tweeted out, "There's a thing you need to see," and we're going to put this up today. It's called town halls. Let's go to town hall number 1 tweet. All right? They're going for every representative, every senator that does not have a town hall scheduled because they plan to ambush them. David Hogg, "We should have a list of districts without a town hall soon." These are activist people. They are truly activists for a cause. All right? Let's go to town hall 2. Update. 51 members of Congress holding town halls this recess. 22 fully confirmed, okay, THFOL events. Town Hall for Our Lives. Events on the site. And over 300 organizers in 144 districts working to secure others. We should confirm at least 5 more by the end of the day. Hashtag Town Hall for Our Lives. All right? Now, let's go to Town Hall Project copy number 4. Okay? Town Hall Project. I'm sorry, it just says Town Hall Project. Do you have that? I can't see across the room. Okay? Town Hall Project. This is their at Town Hall Project, and this is set up. This was all organized from the very minute the massacre took place. This is Town Hall Project, their Twitter list. I just wanted to put it up so you could see it. And then let's go to the one that just says Town Hall Project. All right. They have a website, as you can see. All right, you can see their website there. Town Hall Project right there. And hold on just a minute. I had it here a minute ago, and I'm going to pull it back up. I didn't think I let it go here. Just 1 second, folks. Sorry about that. I thought I had it up here. The Town Hall Project, okay, which these kids, the Obama kids, are all pushing out. Put the other one up with the map. It says Town Hall. Yeah. This is the face of their website, okay? Town Hall Project. Town Hall for Our Lives. They're planning. This has all been organized from day one, okay? Organize a Town Hall for Our Lives event. Read the guide. They have a guide for it. Submit a Town Hall for Our Lives event. Sign up to attend the event. Town Hall Project. Show up, speak out. They have the zip code. Then they have all the live town halls on that map, as you can see. You can sign up to receive updates. All right. And there's a list of everyone. Okay. Representative Stephanie Murphy, a Democrat in Florida. Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat in Oregon. Here's a Republican in Kentucky. Brett Gurther, Representative Brett Gurther in Kentucky. Here is a Democrat in Texas, a Democrat in Florida, a Republican in Alabama, Representative Gary Palmer. These are all listed here, and they're going through as fast as they can, all right, to all of the town halls and putting pressure. I'm just saying, this whole thing, why Laura Ingraham, the reason I opened up with that, folks, is why Laura Ingraham apologized. I can understand. You need sponsors to make the business work. I understand, okay? But we have to be careful allowing these kind of attacks from the left to stand, all right? So my hope is that all of the, David Hogg comes out and he says to her, oh yeah, I'm going to really accept your apology when all you did it for was to save your advertisers, okay? But Andrew Pollock's son, Hunter Pollock, who was supposed to speak at the March for Our Lives, was left off due to a miscommunication. That's okay. No outrage over that, okay? Laura Ingraham apologized. I don't know that I would have. I just wanted to highlight the big picture here, folks. Yes, I have all the tweets from President Trump. I understand what else is going on out there, but sometimes on this show, I like to bring you information the best I can to show you that there is an orchestrated effort, okay, that they have been working on for quite some time. All right, and sadly to say, Parkland, this brutal massacre in Parkland on these kids actually kick-started. Everything was ready, folks. Everything was completely ready. The buses to go to Tallahassee, the buses to go to Washington, D.C., the money. I don't know how much is in that GoFundMe page. Okay, I know Amanda brought that up the other day. Everything is ready for a national assault on your town halls, a national assault from the left on your guns, a national assault from the left on the elections. I don't think I would spend the kind of time worrying about the corruption and the influence on our elections by Russians at no time. No time would I worry about that. All right, well, I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. I don't know why I went there, Amanda. It's bothered me ever since I found out that Laura Ingraham put out this tweet, and these kids, these Obama kids, that have been trained. Our education system, it's disappointing that kids are being trained. And I don't want to get negative to it. High school behavior in the media. Well, Hunter had a different view and he was not able to speak, but his sister, all right, his sister was murdered. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, our first guest of the day, State Senator Michael Williams, and he's the candidate, Republican candidate for Georgia governor, and he was at the debate Saturday. So let's take a break, and let's see if Mr. Williams gets called in here in a minute, and we'll get him plugged in, and we'll be right back with the first of our three guests this morning. Take us to break.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, brand name merchandise at unbelievably low prices. Furniture, appliances, and electronics. Circuit World is locally owned and operated, serving the tri-state area. Circuit World has highly trained professionals to help. Visit your hometown Circuit World today. 3 locations in Georgia: Ellijay, Blue Ridge, and Blairsville, Franklin, and Murphy, North Carolina. No credit checks, so let Circuit World deliver to you today.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on-site by our jewelers, and North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Medium Pizza Hut pizzas, just $5.99 each.
Did they say Pizza Hut?
For $5.99?
Yes, and yes.
Yes. Introducing the deal you want on the pizza you crave. 2 medium pizzas, just $5.99 each. No one out pizzas the hot.
One.
And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. My guest now on the phone with us is Republican candidate for Georgia Governor Michael Williams. Mr. Williams, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, Brian. Thank you so much for having me on this morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let's just get right into a long list I have here in a short time. You made some mentions, and you're what I noticed Saturday in the debate. We're going to talk about the debate and some of the things that came out of that. In the debate Saturday, you were accused of, big word, but it was said you were grandstanding in the debate. You put out some heavy one-liners or some statements that caused Hunter Hill and Casey Cagle, also candidates, to have to respond multiple times that night. You seem to be focused in on Cagle and Hunter Hill. Is there a particular reason why?
Well, with Cagle, he has so much material that we need to expose about what's really going on that it's just really easy to continually to hit him about what he says up on stage. And what he says up on stage is different than what he actually does whenever he is leading the Senate or fulfilling his obligation as the lieutenant governor. And if you want to call holding somebody accountable for their actions grandstanding, then by all means. I mean, I'm going to continue to do that. I see his allegation towards me grandstanding more as more of a deflection and not really wanting to answer the questions and take responsibility for what he's doing. He would much rather be up there, just say, believe what I'm telling you, don't worry about what I'm doing, just believe what I'm telling you. And as long as I'm on that stage, I'm not going to let any of the candidates get away with that. And I would hope they'd feel the same way about me. If there's something out there that I'm doing that's different than what I'm saying, I need to be called out, hold me accountable, and I'll be more than glad to respond.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's get right into, you said something of the nature, people, candidates, I don't know if it was plural, but I want to see what you were referring to. Tens of thousands of dollars in surveys to find out what the voters want instead of actually coming out with what they would do for Georgia, and those are my words, but that's what you said, tens of thousands. Are you referring to Casey Cagle's maybe Facebook survey that's been out and things like that?
No. I'm actually, when you go and you look at disclosures of the expense side, normally when I talk up on the stage, I'm talking about the revenue side where the candidates are getting their money from. In this particular instance, I was referring to what they're spending their money on. And when you look at Hunter Hill and Clay Tippin's disclosures, they spent upwards of $30,000-$40,000 just doing surveys to try to get public opinion so they can then shape their campaign message based upon that public opinion they get back from those surveys.
Well, you talked about lobbyists are financing their campaigns. That's what you said. And is that, which candidates are you referring to, and can you point to any specific lobbyist in any of those campaigns?
Well, yes. Again, every single one of the candidates from Casey Cagle, Brian Kemp, Hunter Hill, and Clay Tippins, especially Clay, Hunter, and Cagle. Cagle's, you look at about, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's somewhere between 85% of the money that he gets, it is big corporates or lobbyists. Clay and Hunter, they get about, again, 75-80% of their money from the Buckhead area. So when they're out talking about how they're going to represent Georgia and they're going to do this, what they're going to do is exactly what the people that are writing them checks are going to tell them to do. And I kind of hit Hunter a little bit Saturday about his alleged support for religious liberties. Well, a specific lobbying firm, McGuire Woods, wrote a check to Hunter Hill, and McGuire Woods was a big lobbying arm for the Georgia Metro Chamber that was fighting against religious liberties.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. You said that was McGuire Woods.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. As the time you were running for Senate in the past several years, does any of your financial disclosures, not at the time you're running for this race here for governor, do any of your financial disclosures show any special interest groups giving you money as a candidate running for Senate, or a lobbyist group? Have you not taken any? Now I understand, this is this race, but what about you?
No, definitely. And whenever I first ran for Senate, no, I did not have a single lobbyist or anything like that write me a check. I had to finance my own campaign. I put in, I think, over $330,000 for my own campaign to beat the incumbent. After I got elected, then I had lobbyists coming to me and wanting to talk to me and would write a check out to me. But that was after I was elected, not to get that office. And there's a very clear line whenever you get an office because somebody wrote you a check versus you're already in office and they just want to support you because they believe in what you're doing once you're there.
Okay, so what you're saying is the first time you ran for Senate, if we look through your disclosures, we're not going to find lobbyists and special interests backing your campaign. But
Correct.
After you were elected, when you ran for re-election, at that time, certain lobbyists or special interest groups approached you after you were in office.
Correct. And even then, it still doesn't match how much money I put in myself.
Yeah, I understand that, and I don't disagree, and don't want to go in a direction that takes us off some of the things I want to talk about. But if elected governor, then would that be the same situation as when you were elected senator? If lobbyists, I know you're putting your own money in this campaign and you're taking small donations from around the state from individuals, but if elected governor, would then lobbyists and special interests be trying to get into the governor, a Mike Williams governor's office? And that is a question I would have.
What the way I'll answer that is, and again, I'll use my current experience as a state senator to kind of draw the parallel. There were lobbyists that when I first got elected were giving me money. After they kind of saw how I was going to behave and how I was going to vote down at the Senate, some lobbyists continued to donate because they liked what I was doing. Other lobbyists stopped because I was fighting against some of the things that they were wanting me to. So whenever I went and become governor, those individuals, those organizations that like what I am doing will continue to support me. Those that don't, won't.
Okay. I guess we can confirm lobbyists and special interests just continue to play a role in our elections. Let me move on because you have answered this question before, but I want to lead up to something because HB 170, the transportation bill, I think you told me before you did vote for that.
I did.
Okay. And that was considered one of the highest, and I know the others voted for it too, Mr. Williams, so I'm not singling you out, but HB 170 was considered one of the highest tax increases on the citizens of Georgia. How did you vote on this year's transportation bill?
I voted no.
You voted no. What was different on this year that you were able to see? I understand it allows for the counties in the 13 counties to raise a 1 cent tax. So, and what was the difference in HB 70 and this year's transportation bill?
Well, there's a couple of things. The biggest one is HB 170 that was in 2015. That was my very first session. And the reason I want to point that out is I had never been involved in any political organization whatsoever, much less the state legislature before I took office. And I went down there and I had my ideas, I had my values, I had what I wanted to accomplish, but I also had to learn everybody, the process, kind of what goes on down there. And by nature, I'm just a trusting individual. And as we were going through the debate about transportation, we all knew that we need to have more money in transportation that was being spent by the state to improve our infrastructure. Myself, several others, Bill Heath, Josh McCoon, Mike Crane, we were all talking about how we wanted the additional revenues from the state, because at this point I think our revenues have gone from about 15 billion to 18 or 19 billion. So we were continuing to grow about $1 billion a year for the past couple of years. So why couldn't we take that additional revenue? In one of our caucus meetings towards the end of session, leadership sat up and said, you know what, guys, you understand what you're saying? We don't have the time to tackle both tax reform and transportation reform this session. Let's put in this bill a study committee so we can look at our revenue. We can come back during the summer, figure out where all the revenue is, how we can reduce the taxes to offset this tax increase we're about to have, and then we can pass that legislation next session. And I believed them. Now again, you can say I should not have believed them, but again, I had to learn something that it took Ronald Reagan learning from Tip O'Neill, that you can't trust Democrats and rhinos when it comes to decreasing taxes. So based upon that trust, I voted for it, hoping we could come back and address taxes the next year. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I figured out after my first session that you can't necessarily trust everybody and the things they say down there. And plus, this transportation bill, it was just a bad bill. And also, it had in there, I don't know if you remember the tweet that Casey put out there that said that he would kill any bill that gave Delta a tax break. This transportation bill, you go and you look at lines about 475 or so, there's an exemption for jet fuel tax.
So in the transportation bill, there's an exemption for the jet fuel tax?
There is.
And is that the back end of the original Delta tax?
No, it's
now jet
it's
fuel.
different.
I got to get it clear.
Yeah, it's different.
So what is different about it?
It's not the same exact one that they had, but again, Casey in his tweet where he said he is going to kill any legislation that would give Delta a tax break unless they rescind their statement about the NRA. And in that bill, they're exempting jet fuel tax from that 1% MARTA tax.
Okay, so they would get if that tax passes, jet fuel's exempted from it.
Correct.
Okay. Did you vote for this year's budget? The budget, first of all, the budget has gone up it's gone from 17 billion, 18 billion.
It's gone from about 15 billion in 2010 to 26 billion this year.
26 billion. Did you vote for this year's budget?
I voted no for it.
Okay. All of the past years that you served in the Senate, how many times did you vote against the budget?
This was the first year I voted no on it.
Okay, this is the first time. Why this time?
Again, it goes back to me being able to see and learn and figure out what's really going on down there. And the just the amount of money that we have been collecting, and the fact that we don't know where a lot of this money goes. I've been able to serve on the Appropriations Committee last year and this year, and have been able to kind of dive into it. And there is a program where the Department of Revenue is trying to upgrade a lot of their systems. And it needs to be done, but every year they keep coming back and saying, we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. Well, I asked them, I said, well, where is the original cost estimate for this? Where's the original plan, the original budget, and how are we tracking compared to that? They don't have it. They finally came to me and said, we don't know where it is, we don't have it, we can't tell you where it is, we just need more money. And if we can't adequately control and account for where all this money is going, plus at the debate, I think I shared with everybody how the Department of Corrections, they lost $33 million. DCH transferred about $120 million to DHS, but DHS only received about 105. Where'd the $15 million go? Go ahead.
No, let me ask you a question. How many years you been in the Senate?
This is my fourth year.
Your fourth year. So the first three, and don't take this wrong, I apologize if it sounds rude, but it took to the fourth year for you to vote no on the budget when it's gone up over $1 billion per year. And, you know, this year, you say, well, you could see that, I don't know, I don't want to quote you, but this year is the year that you voted no after 3 years of voting yes when the budget has gone up. So you voted for 3 budgets that increased over, and you're not the only one there out there that voted 3 times, over $3 billion in increases in the budget, but this year you voted no. I mean, when you make accusations against the other candidates, maybe a poor choice of words, but you bring the other candidates in. What if somebody says, well, this is an election year vote for you? What would you say to that?
Again, that's what that's what they're saying about me for nearly everything that I'm doing. Is that the only reason that Michael is doing this is because he is running for office. What I say to that is, when you look at my overall voting record, I have the most conservative voting record of any state senator currently serving, and even when Hunter was there, when he was there, I was the most conservative state senator. And when you look at the trajectory, my first year was my worst voting record because I didn't understand everything that was going on. I didn't understand the intricacies, the process. And every year that goes by, I get more conservative because I figure out what is actually going on. So while, you can say, yes, I voted a certain way 3 years prior, that's true. And I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, I am evolving and learning and figuring out what's really going on down there. That's also why I feel like I make the best candidate and will make the best governors, because I do truly understand what's happening with our money, not because somebody's told me, but because I've actually been able to dive in and see it for myself. And that's what's been going on.
All right, let's change direction here, because there's the religious freedom. And we had, this is the first time in several years the state actually updated the foster care and adoptions in the state. A bill did pass that the governor went to the governor's desk, and I think is already signed, if I'm right.
Yes.
But there was an additional bill that would had faith-based protection for faith-based adoption agencies. And I do remember you saying that Casey Cagle, the lieutenant governor, stood up in the Senate and stopped this. Okay. And his response to that, the faith-based adoption agency protection, to me, Bill, is that foster care is not germane to the adoptions. To put that in the foster care bill, it was not germane. Explain what he was trying. Well, I don't know if you can answer for him, but explain what he was trying to say and what you're saying as far as what he actually did, standing up. Your comments on that. You claim he stopped faith-based adoption agencies protection. He claims it was not legally written to attach to the bill. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to attempt to try to explain what Casey was saying. What I will explain is what the word germane means. Basically, that means that within the Senate, I believe in the House, they have the same rule, is a bill is supposed to be a single subject bill.
Right.
So any bill that we have, it's supposed to only have one subject. Well, you've been around long enough to know that's not always that rule is extremely flexible. There's some bills that have 10, 15 different sections, ranging from gas tax to hotels to cars to all kinds of different things. So it's really at the discretion of the presiding officer, who in the Senate is Casey Cagle. And William Ligon, he had an amendment to the adoption bill that would protect faith-based agencies. And he had worked out an agreement with Casey and leadership that if he took that amendment off of the adoption bill and allowed the adoption bill to kind of flow through the process without it on there, that they would give him a vote for it on the floor of the Senate, which they did. But what happens down there, and again, I didn't believe this my first couple of years down there until I actually saw it going on, is they will make an agreement, like somebody in the House or in the Senate will agree with a senator representative that they can get it out of their chamber, knowing full well that the other chamber will not allow it to come out. Again, I don't know. I don't have any information to say for 100% certainty that that was what was truly going on. But whenever William told me that that was the deal that he made, I told him, William, you have been down here long enough to know that amendment is not going to make it to the governor's desk. He was convinced it was. Well, the last day of session, the bill had not made it, his bill that protected faith-based adoption agencies had not made it through the process. So he found a bill that was related to foster care. Well, what children need to be adopted? It's those children that are going to go into foster care or that are already in foster care. So to say that his bill to protect faith-based adoption agency is not germane, does not have to, not dealing with the same subject matter, is completely false. So William found this foster care bill. He attached the amendment to that bill, and Casey Cagle on the Senate floor, you can go back and you can watch the video, says that it's a very important bill. He believes in this bill, but he's going to rule it non-germane, so we cannot vote on it. Saying one thing, doing something else.
But are you saying that Lieutenant Governor does have somewhat of a gray area to work within, because there are kids that go through foster care that end up being adopted, and then there are kids that go through foster care that end up being reunited with their families. So you're saying that because some children in foster care do end up going through the process of being adopted, this would have been able to be attached?
It was completely within his authority to allow that amendment to stay on that bill. He chose not to allow it. He could have stayed on there, and there would have been, there might have been some political from the left outrage about it, but there was no legal ramification for him doing that. It was completely within his right to do that. He chose not to.
I only have 2 minutes left, Mr. Williams. So let me get this last one, and we'll talk again throughout the campaign. You said you had been leading the charge against giving tax breaks to Amazon, and then you said Bezos wants to give it back, that's Amazon CEO, to illegals, and give that tax break back he wants to give it back to illegals. Don't know exactly, just putting some lines here together. And when you talk about that, also, did you hear anything in session about coming back in for a special session? And are you aware that Amazon was in town Friday? Some representatives of Amazon was in town Friday, and have you heard anything about that meeting?
Yes, I was aware that Amazon was making another tour of Atlanta. I have not heard any feedback from their tour. And yes, if Amazon makes it to the final, if Atlanta makes it to the final 3 for Amazon, then the governor wants to create a special session so that we can talk about any tax breaks that the governor might have offered Amazon. I'm against it. We don't need to give Amazon these massive tax breaks for them to come to our state. If they want to come, great. And if it makes financial sense for Georgians to come and have Amazon to come, I would love that. But the amount of money they're talking about, I think it's insane. And also, transparency in government, which I think is an incredibly important thing. We are of the top 20 that made it to the list, the final Amazon list. We're the only state where the citizens of the state do not know what their government has offered Amazon to come here. I think that's wrong as well. We need to have more transparency in what's going on in our government.
So you're stating this morning that the other states, their citizens know what Amazon was offered, and we do not.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Mr. Williams, what is the one biggest regret in this past session that you have that didn't get passed or didn't come out to the floor for a vote? What's one of the biggest regrets you have from this past session, and what is the one thing you can point to as a success here in a minute?
Probably the biggest regret was I could not get a vote on the abortion ban after the presence of a heartbeat. I've shared the story before where Brindley, my youngest, she was conceived through IVF, and I remember going and watching 3 weeks after they did the embryo infusion and transfer to my wife. 3 or 4 weeks after, I saw her heartbeat. I saw Brindley's heartbeat on the sonogram, and we have got to do a better job of protecting the unborn, those who can't protect themselves. And had an amendment. It was germane. I went to the floor, begged the presiding officer to allow it to be germane, but they ruled it non-germane, so they were not allowed to vote on the adoption or on the heartbeat bill for banning abortions. I guess the answer to your other question, his biggest success was my father suffered from PTSD, was a manic depressive. He ended up killing himself when I was 14 years old, and we were able to get those suffering from PTSD access to Chemodal oil. So that was probably the biggest thing I was happy about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. We wish you well in the campaign, and we'll be having you back on the show. We have to run now for our next guest, and we thank you. You have a nice day, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to have Republican candidate for governor Hunter Hill with us. Take us to break, Amanda.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, brand name merchandise at unbelievably low prices. Furniture, appliances, and electronics. Circuit World is locally owned and operated, serving the tri-state area. Circuit World has highly trained professionals to help. Visit your hometown Circuit World today. 3 locations in Georgia: Ellijay, Blue Ridge, and Blairsville, Franklin, and Murphy, North Carolina. No credit checks, so let Circuit World deliver to you today.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on-site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Medium Pizza Hut pizzas, just $5.99 each.
Did they say Pizza Hut?
For $5.99?
Yes, and yes.
Yes. Introducing the deal you want on the pizza you crave. 2 medium pizzas, just $5.99 each. No one out pizzas the hot.
Hey, and we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Joining us now on the phone, Republican candidate for Georgia Governor Hunter Hill. Mr. Hill, how are you this morning?
I'm great, Brian. I hope you're doing well. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Well, it was good to see you Saturday night at the debate, the ninth Congressional District GOP debate over there in Hall County. And all 7 candidates were attended the debate. Let Let me ask you a question. You're a state senator for 5 years. You resigned your seat in effort to continue your run for governor, to put all your time into that. Is that the reason why you resigned the seat, and how do you think that's worked out for you as far as your run for governor?
Look, in business and life, I've found you can't do multiple things well. You've got to have focus. And I launched my campaign as a senator, but I realized as we began to catch traction that if we were going to finish strong and win the primary, I would need to focus on my campaign for governor. If I were to be in the Senate, I would be wanting to do what is best for my constituents, which is a small group of people in Cobb County and Fulton County. And it would distract me from my campaign for governor. If I were to be a senator and focus entirely on my race for governor, then I would let down my constituents. And so I decided to just focus on my campaign for governor because we are a true conservative candidate. We have a chance to win and actually move Georgia forward for the values and principles we believe in. And I didn't want to let this opportunity pass.
What if some say that you avoided some votes that may have been controversial, or you avoided taking a stand on some issues that came out of the last session, and that you were not there to stand up for some of the things some of your opponents are having to answer for?
Yeah, well, while I was a senator, I voted on things that people might find controversial, but these are core values of mine. Things like religious liberty. I voted against the largest tax increase that Casey Cagle pushed and that Michael Williams voted for. So we've got a solid conservative record. I was not doing anything but focusing on the future and making sure that we could continue to cast our true conservative leadership vision for Georgia.
Well, let me ask you this then. So you did not vote for HB 170, the transportation bill that increased taxes. You say you voted no on that.
Correct.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, because that was my comment. There is what if your opponents or people out there say, well, you don't have the transportation bill, so many different things in this last session, you don't have to answer for your vote, and you avoided that. So let me just ask you on the other side, that gives you maybe an opportunity to answer. For example, when it may come back up, and I do know that religious freedom in Georgia may not be getting the forefront in the governor's office today, the current governor's office today. So that being said, Saturday, Casey Cagle, lieutenant governor, used the word germane when it comes to the foster care bill and attaching the adoption agency, religious faith-based adoption protection agency. Where do you stand on a bill like that? And would a Governor Hunter Hill sign a bill like that? And a lot of candidates, and I'm getting to the end of this question, I know it's so long, but a lot of candidates, I continue to hear religious freedom, and then it just seems like it dies once they get elected. Where do you stand? What would you really do, and what kind of bill would you sign?
Well, I've already committed to sign the federal RFRA language. I voted for it 3 times in the Senate. I believe we should protect Christian families so that they can adopt children that they want to adopt, and not be forcing children to go into homes that run counter to their religious beliefs. And so that's very important. But let me tell you why I'm so convicted on this. I fought 3 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I've been to countries that don't protect your religious liberties. And I've found that when you don't protect someone's religious liberties, you don't protect any of their liberties. So this is a foundational constitutional principle in our country. We've let the left downgrade it and undermine it. And we've got to have a governor that's willing to stand up and talk about the merits of religious liberty. And it's in fact the reason that we have great prosperity in this country that we have protected religious liberty. So I will be our greatest defender of that right to exercise one's religious beliefs. And we just need to get it's a simple bill. We just need to get it signed, and as governor, I'll get it signed. You
said Saturday, and I don't want to misquote you, Mr. Hill, at the debate that you did try to fight the increasing budget. In the 5 years that you were in the Senate, and obviously excluding this year, how many of those 5 years, because it did increase every year, how many of those 5 years did you vote yes on the budget?
I voted yes to the budget every year, and here's the bottom line. Especially on the transportation bill year, it was 2015, and my third year in the Senate, that's when I really started to fight and say, look, if transportation is a priority, then we ought to fund it out of the general fund. We don't need to raise taxes for that, which is only 5% of the budget. If we care about it, we want to prioritize it, we need to find other areas of the budget to cut from, because a tax increase for 5% of the budget is a justification of how we spend the other 95. And so bottom line is this. Yes, I voted for the bill, even though I didn't agree with all of the principles of the spending. I voted for the budget bill. But here's the thing. About 70% of what was spent is on things that are core competencies of government and things that we need to be focusing on, educating our kids, public safety, transportation. So to vote no, yes, it would have been me sending a message that I didn't agree with the increases, but it also would have been me saying that I don't think we should fund government. And so I decided to take the bad with the good on those votes for the budget, even though I was frustrated. But keep in mind, that's why I'm running for governor. Because if we don't change the way that we do business, and the governor has the ability to lead on budget issues and on other transformational items within government, then we're going to go off a fiscal cliff, because the states are inextricably tied to the federal government, and we have a $21 trillion debt at the federal level, and until we get a limited government governor, then we're not going to change the trajectory of our nation, and that's why I'm running for governor.
Okay, so how when you say, you tried to fight the increasing budget, so let's say you're elected governor, how would you stop? And I use the word stop because tax revenue, in fact, this year, tax revenues at one of the highest in the state of Georgia, in fact, to where they had a surplus that they had to do an amendment to spend the surplus and where they were going to put it at. And now we have a $26 billion, $5.5 billion in increases just in 5 years. How do you stop that kind of budget increase and still manage the growth of the state of Georgia?
Yeah, so that's great question. And the bottom line is this. As a senator, you're one of 56. As a House member, you're one of 180. So there's 230 members in the General Assembly, but there's only one governor. And so you truly get to cast that vision and be very clear about what your priorities are. And for me, I've said from the beginning, to have a more limited and focused government that delivers results for taxpayers, we ought to be focusing on the core competencies of government. And for me, that's public safety, transportation, and education. And I'm talking mostly about K-12 education. So the reality is everything that's not in those three categories that we need to bring to the table and consider cutting or reforming or changing the expectation of how we're delivering results. So take healthcare. Medicaid, for example, is almost 30% of the budget. We need to back up and say this is a very vulnerable aspect of our population, but are we delivering results for them? In other words, they're our most expensive population to care for and our least healthy. So we're not delivering results for them, yet we're spending billions of dollars. We got to change the way we do business. Welfare, food stamps. Why are we paying our citizens to do nothing? It's creating illegal immigration, and it's undermining their God-given talents, gifts, and abilities to be able to add value into the marketplace. So these are the philosophical conversations that we need to start having, and they are best had and led by a governor.
Well, let me ask this, and we'll get off the budget. And the only reason I want to ask this one more question concerning the budget is you made mention that for all 5 years you voted yes, and there were some things that you highly opposed, but then you had things like education and several on the list there that you did not want to vote no against. So a budget, a budget even on the state level is more or less an omnibus appropriations bill that pushes everything together and is signed under one. Would you think about dividing it out into department budgets and approving each one? I think Texas, and I'm not trying to say we ought to mirror Texas, I think they do a budget every 2 years, and it's negotiated 2 years at a time, every department. So I'm not trying to say that, but would you be looking at other ways maybe to present a budget? Is that open?
It is open. It's something I would consider. The bottom line is the governor has, in fact, in many cases, more authority than people would like on the budget process. But again, that's why I'm running for governor, to cast a truly conservative vision for our state and to show people that we have the leadership ability to get these values and principles implemented into policy. And so as governor, I'm going to use the historical nature of the office to implement our values and principles. So we might need to separate individual items out and say, look, we're going to focus on K-12 first. Let's fund K-12 and do it, as not an omnibus bill, as you mentioned. But I hadn't made my mind up on how we're going to do it. I just know that my top priorities in the budget process are going to be public safety, transportation, and education.
Okay, let's move to how to create economic development, because that came up Saturday. You made 3 points. First, you said eliminate the state income tax. Eliminate the state income tax.
Correct.
How do you explain how you eliminate the state income tax, but yet bring in enough revenue to the state to operate the kind of budget that we have?
Yeah, I want to have a broad-based sales tax. Call it it's most closely aligned with the fair tax. We've been talking about this for years. 70% of the economy is driven by consumption, the things that people buy, and it's very congruent or aligned with freedom. People have the choices and options to go buy and purchase goods and services, and that's the best way to bring in revenues. So 70% of the economy is driven by consumption, yet consumption taxes are only on 30% of our economy. So you expand consumption taxes onto more items, and you've got to raise the rate, but you don't have to raise the rates as high as the income tax, which is at 6%. The 6% income tax taxes the entirety of one's entire income, whereas a consumption tax only taxes that which one purchases. Now, we got to do it over time, and I want to do it more like Tennessee. I don't want to get on property because our property taxes are high enough already, and it runs counter to getting away from taxing income and capital and investment. But the bottom line is this. The income tax only taxes honest Georgians, and I want to take advantage of visitors to our state, folks in the underground economy, and illegal immigrants. And when we tax everyone fairly across the board based on their consumption habits, we bring good revenues into the state, and we let hardworking Georgians keep more of their money to choose how they want to live.
All right, K-12 free market. No, wait a minute. Before I get there, you said also the second one, double investment in transportation without raising taxes. How do you do that, double the investment without raising taxes, and what are you pulling it away from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Let's just use $25 billion as the number for the state revenue. As you're lowering the income tax, you're replacing revenues with more consumption taxes. Okay, so call the budget $25 billion, just for sake of this argument. We know that about 5% of that $25 billion is going to transportation. Well, what I would like to do over the course of my first term is prioritize transportation at a higher rate without raising taxes to do it, just managing the budget better and taking from areas that we've discussed, looking at Medicaid reform, looking at welfare and food stamp reform, looking at higher education reform. There's a huge bureaucracy in higher education that we can look at to make cuts. So there's a number of areas where we can look at to make the cuts that are necessary, and I know we can get another $1 billion out of the budget to prioritize into transportation with the net effect of doubling our investment in transportation, all without raising taxes.
So that's very concerning. I mean, you didn't say this quote, but Are you saying there's $1 billion that could get moved into other areas, that you really feel there's $1 billion that could get moved in some more areas that would be, more beneficial to the state? I mean, you said you can move $1 billion into transportation that's not currently there from other areas of the budget?
I do believe that, and again, this is over a term, so that's 4 years.
Okay,
I believe that we can do $250 million a year.
All right, I get it, sir. I didn't mean to say $1 billion one time. So I respect that. So you're looking over a term of being able to move about $250 million a year over into transportation.
That is correct.
Okay, the third thing that you brought up, because we're looking at economic development in the state, the third thing that you brought up is implementing K-12, implementing free market principles in education, giving families more choices. Explain what you mean by that and why that would be a benefit for economic development in Georgia.
Well, let me answer the last question first. Why K-12 is directly relatable to economic development is when we are educating a child, we're preparing them for the future. We need critical thinking, prepared individuals, and this includes character and discipline. It's not just test scores. But so bottom line is when somebody graduates high school, they're either going to go get a technical college degree, a technical skill, if you will. They're going to get a 4-year degree, or they're going to go right into the workplace. And they need to be prepared for the rigors of life. And so elevating K-12 education ensures that we have a workforce that is prepared for the future, and that's what money is looking for. Money comes into states based on the tax and regulatory environment, based on the goods and services, if you will, being able to move around, which is our transportation network, and then also the workforce. So it's directly attributable to economic development if we have solid K-12 graduates. Now, how are we going to lift up K-12? Is right now it's a closed government-run, government-centric solution. Public schools are currently. Charter schools have been a free market principle, but we don't fully fund them. So number one, we need to fully fund charter schools. We need to change the QBE formula in Georgia to make it more student-centric. And then finally, I think we should use a portion of the money for some kids that their traditional public school is not working for them, and empower them with the resources that we're already spending, because we know how much we're spending per child, and let them choose where they want to deploy those resources and educate their children.
Well, let me ask you this: I know we've only got a couple minutes left here, and the reason I wanted to bring up economic development, it's my understanding that representatives from Amazon for HQ2, they were in Atlanta Friday this past week, looking at some of the locations, some follow-up meetings. What say you as far as any kind of abatement, tax abatement, any kind of deals that would be made to Amazon to bring them here to Atlanta? Where do you stand on that?
I think that we all would, or not, I'd love to see Amazon come here, okay? But I don't want to give away the farm to bring them here. We should not be using monies from the public treasury to buy industry to come here. What you'd want to do is create a very balanced and fair and predictable marketplace with your tax and regulatory policy, et cetera, so that capital and investment and business wants to grow here outside of the purview of the government. I mean, think about this. The Department of Economic Development cannot see, possibly, all of the things that are occurring in the marketplace to be able to go and individually buy the best ideas. So I want to be on the short list for every company in the country to move here, if that makes sense. Instead of just focusing on these big behemoth companies, let's make sure small business has a good chance to build here and grow here in Georgia. Let's focus on them, and you do that by eliminating the Georgia state income tax, elevating transportation, and then empowering families to have more choices in K-12 education. And that's my vision for Georgia.
Let me wrap up with this because I'm speaking to all the candidates that will respond, and we appreciate you responded this morning. But you at the debate Saturday night, anytime your name was brought up or anything said about you in the debate, you got a response time. It seemed like Michael Williams wanted to make sure that between you and Casey Cagle, you got a lot of response time Saturday night. But in that, you said as far as resigning from your state Senate seat there and beholden, my words, beholden to a small group of constituents that you have there. I know you didn't say anything negative about your voters there, but I'm just saying you wanted to get out and you're going to be serving all of Georgia. That being said, a lot of accusations being made about campaign finance. So you do have your campaign finance report. A lot of what some would consider big donors, some special interests from some wealthier areas that you've taken in a lot of money. He even brought up, and I don't know the name, sir, it's McGuire Woods. Maybe you can comment to that. But what say you with all of the career politician accusations and where you're getting your money to fund your campaign?
I appreciate that question very much. I told my team when we launched our campaign in April that we had to earn the right to be attacked because I knew I was basically irrelevant in the sense that, no one knew who we were around the state. But we've been casting a very conservative vision, and we've gotten traction, and now we're in second place in the polls, and we're getting closer to Casey Cagle. But people like Michael Williams haven't gotten traction around the state, and so of course they're attacking us. And here's the bottom line. From the beginning, when you're running a Republican primary, you have to get the support of basically friends, family, and what I call believers, people that believe in your vision for Georgia. And the people that have contributed money to our campaign because they believe in a truly conservative vision are people that have had their head down building their families and businesses for the last 40 years. And they've really never really participated in politics. But they're really excited about our vision. I don't have lobbyist and special interest money. All that money is gone with Cagle. Okay, we have hardworking Georgians that are not traditionally part of the political process. Yes, they're successful. They've done well in life. That's how they're able to give us resources. But what they're really interested in is having a truly conservative vision for Georgia, and that's why they're supporting us. And I'm grateful for their financial support because I want to get our message out to as many people as we can, and that requires fired up volunteers, which we have over 700 of, and we also need the resources to be on TV and in the mailboxes and on the radio. So I'm proud of both our hardworking team and the hardworking Georgians who have contributed to our campaign.
We promised you 20 minutes, but I want to ask this, if you can bear with me.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were in the Senate for 5 years, okay? So you understand the rules of the Senate, and you see different bills come up and get merged together with different language or amendments. You've seen that often. So talk about religious liberty, religious freedom, the adoption, faith-based adoption agency protection bill or whatever, and the foster care bill. Casey Cagle, the lieutenant governor, said that the amendment was not germane to the foster care bill, meaning it did not have anything that one with the other, so he didn't bring it to the floor for a vote. Somebody else says that's a gray area, that the lieutenant governor does have the latitude to take a gray area like that and move those together. What say you when he was explaining why the amendment for faith-based adoption agencies did not get merged into foster care? What say you when he answered that Saturday?
Well, let me tell you why I had the courage and the decision to run. Obviously, I felt led. I'm a Christian. I gave my life to the Lord in the 8th grade, and I felt led to do this. But I also had to look at the field. Why am I running against Casey Cagle? I mean, the bottom line is he either lacks the conservative ideology of conservatives, or he lacks the leadership to get our ideals implemented into policy, or he lacks both. Either way, that's what gave me the desire to do this. I would have absolutely had the leadership to get the bill through the process. As governor, it'll be much easier to get something like that through. But again, it goes back to our Christian values, which are under attack by the left, and we need leaders that are going to be willing to stand up and fight to restore them. And with things that are going on from the federal level on down, with the liberal media justifying every move from the left, this is going to be a difficult fight. And that is why we need conservatives to coalesce and get behind a candidate that has proven not only that they've been willing to fight overseas to defend the Constitution, but also fight for our values and principles in the state Senate, and then also has the leadership experience through business and other things to get the ideals we believe in implemented into policy. So we've got to protect faith-based organizations in adoption, because it's foundational to, look, Brian, we're never going to reduce the size and scope of government until we start elevating ministries and nonprofits and have stronger families. And we don't do that by a bigger government. We do it with a more limited government, where ministries and nonprofits can be out there helping and healing the broken and the lost. And we need a smaller government for that to take place.
Well, Mr. Hill, Mr. Hunter Hill, we appreciated you this morning. We do have another guest coming up at 9:30, so we're going to have to run. We appreciate. We're going to have you on anytime. You'll be on with us, and we thank you for coming on and answering our questions.
Brian, thanks for the opportunity, and I hope your listeners will go to votehunterhill.com and learn more about us, and hope to see you again soon.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thanks,
so
Brian.
that's our second guest this morning for Republican candidates for governor. We're going to take a brief break, and then we're going to have about 25 minutes of the Georgia Speaker of the House, David Ralston, is going to come on and just tell us a little bit what happened in this past session, what he felt he would like to have gotten to the floor that maybe did not get there, what they're still working on, and especially want to talk to him about the last session with Governor Nathan Deal. So let's take a break, and when we return, we'll have David Ralston, Speaker of the House, on with us.
The Tupelo Tea mission is to provide over 80 premium tea blends for tea lovers who are looking for ways to explore new flavors and blends. Come visit Tupelo Tea, located in beautiful downtown Blue Ridge at Sycamore Crossing. Be sure to sample our various varieties of honey and tea. Visit us on the web at tupelotea.com or call us at 706-946-TEAS. That's TEAS. Tupelo Tea, located in beautiful downtown Blue Ridge.
Ace is your healthful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in Ella next to Walmart. And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in Ella next to Walmart.
It's just this simple. Nobody beats Days on price. If it's a Chevy, you'll pay less at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Now save $4,000 off a new 2018 Chevy Malibu, or save up to $10,000 off a new 2018 Silverado Crew Cab. It doesn't matter which Chevy you choose. Nobody beats Days on price. $10,000 off Silverados and $4,000 off Malibus at Days Chevy in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, brand name merchandise at unbelievably low prices. Furniture, appliances, and electronics. Circuit World is locally owned and operated, serving the tri-state area. Circuit World has highly trained professionals to help. Visit your hometown Circuit World today. 3 locations in Georgia: Ellijay, Blue Ridge, and Blairsville, Franklin, and Murphy, North Carolina. No credit checks, so let Circuit World deliver to you today.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Medium Pizza Hut pizzas just $5.99 each.
Did they say Pizza Hut?
For $5.99?
Yes, and yes.
Yes. Introducing the deal you want on the pizza you crave. 2 medium pizzas just $5.99 each. No one out pizzas the hut.
And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Our next guest on the phone with us is Georgia House of Representatives Speaker David Ralston. Good morning, Speaker Ralston. How are you?
I'm well, Brian. Good morning to you.
I have 2 things I want to start out with, let me ask you this. How important was this session in a couple different ways? The fact that this actually will be the last session you preside over for Governor Nathan Deal to send bills to his desk. What was that like this year? And do you think you got through about everything he would like to see in his administration, or what was that like?
Well, it was. I have tried to generally support Governor Deal through his term. I think he's been a very pro-job governor. He's focused on economic development and bringing jobs into the state, and we've had some success in that regard. Around 700,000 plus new jobs in the private sector as a result of the efforts that we have put forth. And so this session was a little had mixed feelings. I'm happy for the governor and the first lady that they're going to now be able to enjoy a retirement. I think we're going to miss his leadership. I think Governor Deal evolved into a very strong leader. He tried to bring people together on a host of different issues, and so I think we are going to miss his leadership. I think in terms of this session, I think he got most of his agenda through. No session is ever perfect. I think on the whole, this was a very good session, and I think he was very pleased with it.
Well, I don't know that and I'm going to use my words, controversial. I don't know that I see very many controversial bills headed to his desk that he would tend to veto. But one time before, early on when we started working together and I would interview you, I said, do you think the governor will veto this bill? And you let me know very quickly you didn't answer for the governor and you didn't know what he would do. So I'm not going to ask that question today.
You've learned your lesson.
Yeah, I did. I said, okay, all right. So, but let me ask you this before we get into some of the bills that passed in this session. Amazon was in town. Representatives of Amazon was in town Friday looking at some of the locations in some meetings, further in the discussions. What say you about that? Were you aware of them coming to town? Were you involved at any point? And what do you think is the next step here where HQ2 is concerned, possibly in Atlanta?
Well, I became aware, as did most people, other than the governor and his immediate staff, right before they came into town. These economic development visits they're not press events. I mean, they're there to give the potential business an opportunity to look at sites on the ground, to look at the infrastructure around potential locations. And so I think that they value their opportunity to be able to do this without an entourage of people or press. And so we knew that it was coming. Now, as to the next step, I suspect from what we're being told is that Amazon has already narrowed the list down to 20 or so locations, maybe a few less than that. We expect that in the next few weeks they will narrow the list on down to the finalist of perhaps 5 or even less locations. And that's then, I think, where the real competition will really begin. I've said from the beginning that I think Georgia has a complete portfolio of economic development attractions. We have the world's busiest airport. We have the intersection of 3 major interstate highways in Atlanta, and we've got great research facilities at the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia State. We've got so much to offer, so I'm hopeful that we'll be competing in a very strong position for Amazon and even for others. I mean, we just landed a couple of weeks ago. We landed a data center that Facebook is opening out in the Walton, Newton County area. So there are other lower profile relocations that are coming that are not getting quite the attention, but I think are still very, very important to our economic future in Georgia.
Well, let me ask you this, just one more thing. You said so much to offer, and earlier I said that your last legislative session with the governor, but has the governor not told you to be prepared in some form or fashion to come back into session if necessary to discuss possible incentives for Amazon? Is that something that is still a possibility of happening?
It's a possibility. The way he really framed it was we were going to take off different people doing different sort of incentives during the session, take all of that off the table, so that we didn't get distracted while we're one of 20, and let's wait and see if we make the final, I almost said the final four because we've been watching basketball, but the final few. And so he has indicated that his preference would be, and that he does have an interest in calling us back in if he feels it necessary, and he has committed to have discussions with the lieutenant governor and I about that when the time comes, once Amazon makes that decision.
Well, obviously, I know there's several candidates in several state races and local races that would prefer that session not happen until after May 22nd. So, just say it. Let's move right along to what has taken place in the House. What are some of the top accomplishments, I'll say that, of the House this year? Talk a little bit about the transportation bill and some of the other bills as you feel are major accomplishments that came out of the session.
Well, as I said a moment ago, you always have people that want to pick and find fault in what you do, but I think you're going to have to look really, really hard to be able to disagree with some of the things that we accomplished this session. One of the things, and probably what I was most proud of, was the fact for the first time in 16 years at least, we have fully funded QBE, which means that all of the austerity cuts to local school systems that started back in the middle of the Purdue administration and have continued forward because of the economy and other reasons, they're now over. In fact, we're fully funding QBE, and so people say, well, what does that mean? Well, it's going to mean about $375,000 right off the bat to Gilmer County schools. It's going to mean about $285,000 right off the bat to Fannin County schools, and so that's significant. And I think that it means that we won't have to limp along anymore, with a partially funded system of public education here in Georgia. I guess the right close behind that was the tax cut that we were able to give. Got to give part of the credit to that to the president and his tax reform plan that he signed back in December that created a windfall for the states. We had some discussion about what was the best way to deal with that windfall here in Georgia. We decided to give it back to the taxpayers, so we've cut the personal rate by half of a percentage from 6 down to 5.5. We've doubled deductions so that Georgia families are going to really see the effect of this in their tax returns. This was the most significant tax cut that had been passed since, for I think I've been told, 80 years in Georgia. So I was very, very happy with that. I was happy with the adoption bill. I think you and I may have talked about that at the end of last session, probably talked about it coming into this session. This was a bill that the House of Representatives passed last session in the 2017 session. We passed it 3 times unanimously, and then it got held up in the Senate. And the result of it being held up was that many of our most vulnerable children were caught up in the foster system for yet another year because of our inability to get something done. So I made that bill a priority this session, and it passed early on in the first couple of weeks of the session. And what it will do is it updates our adoption laws in Georgia for the first time in over 30 years. It will speed up the adoption process. It will knock down some of the barriers to adoption. It will make it easier for families to adopt. And I think that's very significant. We can talk about the school safety plan that we funded in the budget. That's going to mean money for both the Gilmer system and the Fannin County system. Gilmer County will be getting about $52,000. Fannin County about $45,000 to install cameras, to put in new doors, to harden the physical assets at schools, so that we can assure parents that when they send their kids to school in our area, that we've done everything we can do to make sure they're going to be safe. So I think that was a very reasonable plan. I was very, very proud of that. I was proud of some of the local measures that we were able to get passed. I was especially pleased that the budget for FY19 will include $5.5 million for a permanent standalone campus for the University of North Georgia at Blue Ridge. I don't know if you know this, but that campus is the fastest growing campus in the UNG system. It's growing faster than Cumming, it's growing faster than Gainesville, it's growing faster than Watkinsville. Blue Ridge has really taken off, and I'm very, very happy about that.
I don't want to interrupt you, Mr. Speaker, but I just want to clarify something. North Georgia College campus that is housed in, I guess, rental property up here on 515, going into Blue Ridge. You're saying that will now have a standalone brick and mortar school?
That's correct.
Okay. And how much?
That's correct.
How much is in the budget for that?
$5.5 million, and that's for construction only. The school itself is responsible for the purchase of the land, and my understanding is that they are they're getting fairly close to finalizing a deal to purchase land to put this on, so that we can have that identified and ready to go sometime soon after July 1.
They've not announced the land purchase yet? that you're
No.
Okay.
No. That's
Well, for dual enrollment students and for core classes, it has been a positive. I have to say that. Let me ask you a question before we move on. That's a great announcement this morning. North Georgia College having a brick and mortar school right here in Blue Ridge. Let me ask you this. Last year you put together a rural Georgia study committee that went all around the state. What kind of legislation did that produce this year that came to the floor? What do you think came out of that this year that benefits rural Georgia out of that study committee?
Rural Georgia had probably the best year that it's ever had in any session of the Georgia General Assembly. When we set out to do the Rural Development Council, we undertook a 2-year project. And so the members of that council started out in May of last year with having hearings around the state. You may remember they had a hearing in Ellijay back in, I think, August. They went all over Georgia, engaging with local leaders, business leaders, citizens, educators, medical professionals, and others about what it was going to take to really revitalize rural Georgia. And they actually brought back this year more legislative proposals than I had expected they would. We didn't get everything done on the on bringing high-speed internet to rural Georgia that we wanted to, but we made a lot of progress. We have knocked down some barriers to carriers being able to expand service. We have set up the framework of a grant program for the expansion of high-speed broadband into rural Georgia. And what we've been doing is we have actually stayed close in touch with the Trump administration and with Secretary of Agriculture Perdue, who has made this a real priority for his department. President Trump, I met with the president and some other local leaders at the White House back in February. This president is committed in a very strong way to infrastructure improvements in rural America, and those include, in his words, high-speed broadband, as well as highways and bridges and rail and other things. So we made a lot of progress on high-speed broadband. We've made significant progress on health care by changing the law in Georgia to allow micro-hospitals, sort of using the model of Piedmont's facility in Ellijay, so that small towns in rural Georgia will have access to emergency care and overnight care before going on, if they need to a regional hospital. We have passed some measures to encourage physicians to locate in rural Georgia. We have created a center for rural prosperity, which will be housed at Abraham Baldwin College in Tifton, which will examine health care and other issues and will ensure a presence in all state discussions for rural Georgia. So I think it was a very, very good session for rural Georgia, and I was very proud of that. And and their work is only halfway finished. They will start again in May, having hearings, and I'm pleased to say that their first hearing of this year will be held in Blue Ridge. I don't have the dates yet, but I know it's in May, when we will have these leaders here in Blue Ridge to talk about the future of rural Georgia. And I think that's going to be a good couple of days for us.
Well, let me ask you this before we go. We only got about 3 minutes, Mr. Speaker, and those are some very positive things, especially in rural Georgia and especially in this area here, North Georgia Blue Ridge campus, North Georgia College Blue Ridge campus. But let me ask you this: like some of the critics, some of the critics might say, we didn't get a change. One of the hottest discussions out there is voter fraud and hacking voting machines and so on and so forth. But we didn't get a change in the Georgia election system this year. What say you? Why do you think we didn't get that change, especially with that issue being such a hot button topic nationwide?
Well, because we couldn't agree and reach a consensus on what alternative would be best in terms of voting machines. We didn't have the money appropriated, so we couldn't buy the machines this year. What I'm anticipating is that when we go back in session, or when next year's General Assembly goes back in session in January, that this will be a priority issue, and that there will be in the amended fiscal year 19 budget money for these machines. And I think
I loved that car.
I think you're going to see a lot of discussion and a lot of meetings over the rest of this year dealing with the issue of what do we want to go to as a state. Frankly, it was too late to switch voting systems for this election cycle. Makes a lot more sense to do it in 2019. It gives more time to train poll workers and local elections officials on whatever new machine we select. But there's still a real division of opinion out there about exactly what kind of alternative that we need to go to. We want something that is secure, that's something that we can know is accurate, and we're going to get that. But that's not an answer that we need to rush to judgment on.
One more thing before we go. The budget and it increased over $1 billion again this year. And I know we've talked in the past every year with the increase. Why the need to increase the spending budget of the state another $1 billion?
Well, because we're growing in population. If you go back and look at our budget per capita, we are still spending at levels from several years ago. But you can't take care of healthcare needs, of educational needs, of public safety needs, and do it on a budget from 10 or 15 years ago in terms of real dollars. I think this is a very conservative budget. It's a very responsible budget, and if you need proof of that, you can look at the people who look at our budget process in terms of grading our bonds. We're one of only eight states in the nation that have a AAA bond rating. So somebody thinks that we're doing a pretty good job of managing our finances here in Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We appreciate it. We appreciate always after the session closes, you taking the time to give us some updates on the session. We're for sure we're going to run into you on the campaign trail here real soon up here in the district, and we appreciate you very much. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Brian. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Okay, folks, that has been a busy day, but let's leave with this, okay? Let's leave with this daily presidential tracking polls. The Rasmussen Reports daily presidential tracking poll for Monday shows that 50% of likely U.S. voters approve of President Trump's job performance. What say you, Joe Scarborough? What say you, Minka Brzezinski? What say you, CNN? What say any of you? I know what I say. I knew it all along. I'm your host, BKP. It's been a great show. It's 10 o'clock. We'll be back tomorrow morning.